Hi there, this is our week 2 help video for Spanish 101. And I have 3 things to talk about very quickly today. The first is the one assignment that seems to be giving everybody the most trouble this week is SAM 137 in my Spanish lab. And the thing to keep in mind with that one is that well, first of all, the numbers, if the number is 1 or 21, there's some special things about how it needs to agree with the noun, with the gender of the noun. So review page 10 in your textbook if you're having trouble with that. And pay attention to word order. Look at the model really closely. You're going to start with the word I, which means there is or there are. Then you're going to have the number, then the noun, and then the adjective. And the adjective, remember that the adjective needs to agree in number and gender with the noun that you're hearing in the recording. So for example, the one where the recording says sillas, the adjective given I think is barato, and so it needs to be sillas baratas. So pay attention to agreement there. Double check your spelling, make sure that you're spelling the nouns correctly, and I think that will solve most of the problems. The thing with the numbers, when there's the number 21, I think that's the most frequent error that I'm seeing, but give that another try. And let's see, the other thing is the live chat. So this week we have both the live chat and the composition, so 2 new kinds of assignments to figure out. The live chat, there are some prompts, some questions that I'm asking you to talk about briefly, but really the main goal for this one is to figure out the tool. So my grading will be pretty much based on if you're successfully able to complete and submit a live chat. I'm not going to be grading hard for pronunciation or grammar or anything like that. So be sure that you set some time aside though to figure that tool out. Also keep in mind, I do allow more than just 2 students. So if the time works out for a group of 3 or 4 of you to work together, that would be fine for you to do it that way. And then the thing that I wanted to spend most of the time talking about today is the composition. So I know it can be a little overwhelming to have a composition due in week 2 because you've been studying Spanish for all of 8 or 9 days now. So please believe me when I say this is meant to be very, very simple, very straightforward, very repetitive even. And I know as adult learners, it can be a challenge to simplify and scale back that far because we're used to having a much higher communicative ability. And please know that this prompt is in no way a reflection on what I feel about your communicative ability in your native language. But in Spanish, because you've been studying it for such a short time, this writing assignment is meant to be just very almost formulaic and repetitive. So what the goal of this composition is just for you to start producing written language that is a meaningful sentences and paragraphs using recombinations of the vocabulary that you've acquired so far. So in English, when you're writing, how do you decide what to write? Usually it's just based on what sounds right. It's not based on any grammar rules that you could recite to me or anything like that. It's based on what sounds right. And how are you going to get to the point where you know what sounds right in Spanish? Frequent repetition of simple, correct structures. So that's the goal of these compositions, is to let you produce over and over again simple, correct structures. So if you find that you are using a dictionary to look up more than, say, 4 or 5, 6 words in the composition, then probably you're making it more complicated than what would actually suit the goal of the assignment. Because I really do want you using as much as possible of the chapter 1 vocabulary. So the way to do that is to look at what you know how to say first and start with that rather than thinking about all the things you would say about your school supplies if you were writing this in English. So when you think about what's in your backpack, en mi mochila hay un libro de matemáticas, right? Really simple. Next sentence, en mi mochila hay un libro de historia. And it can be that repetitive because, again, that's solidifying in your mind those simple, correct structures. You can tell what is not in your backpack. En mi mochila no hay una calculadora. You can tell what you use for each class. And these can be the same supplies that you already mentioned. Para la clase de matemáticas, tengo un libro de matemáticas. Para la clase de matemáticas tengo un cuaderno. Para la clase de matemáticas tengo una calculadora. And then you can tell what you don't use. Para la clase de matemáticas no tengo un diccionario. If you want to get really, really creative, here's what you do. Add in color. Para la escuela tengo un cuaderno rojo. No tengo un cuaderno azul. Tengo una mochila negra. No tengo una mochila blanca. Right? Just that simple. And just if you find yourself frustrated or feeling like you aren't able to meet the goal of the assignment, then please shoot me an email, because chances are you're overthinking it, and I can help kind of talk it back and reassure you. Look at the sample sentences that I have. Look at the sentence starters that I have. Use those. And the goal is for you to really be able to be successful with this assignment, and to feel like you are producing meaningful sentences. Not what you would produce if you were writing about the same thing in English, but meaningful sentences. So give it a try. Shoot me an email if you have any problems. And hopefully everything will work together well as you get your week 2 assignments completed. And I will see you all online.